What's up everybody, I'm Ryan and I'm lazy and stupid, but so are you, and as always that's okay because my plan is to make you less lazy and less stupid with each passing day by teaching you how to make the internet work for you. And today I want to talk a little bit about how to not suck on Twitter. That in just a moment. So now that I've talked about how to actually go about getting verified on Twitter, which you can watch in my last episode, spoiler alert, you're probably going to be a little disappointed with the answer. I wanted to go a step further and actually talk about what's really important, which is how to use Twitter to your advantage, how to not suck on Twitter. Because let's be honest, unless you're spending tons of money in ad dollars or you know someone, you're real close with someone at Twitter, you're not going to get verified, sorry. So before I kind of get into some tips and tricks to using Twitter, I want to talk about, for at least for you extreme novices, what Twitter actually is. Twitter is a real-time microblogging platform where basically you're given 140 characters worth of text space to, aka tweets as Twitter calls them, to basically just tell the world about what it is you happen to be doing at any particular point in time. Now, unlike on Facebook where you have to actually be given permission to be friends with someone, or you have to give someone permission to be friends with you, Twitter doesn't have that functionality unless you're one of the boring people on Twitter who actually protects your account. And if you do that, you should stop because there's no point for you to use Twitter. But that's kind of why I like Twitter, because you can follow people that influence you, or you can follow your friends, and they don't have to give you permission. And vice versa. People who look up to you can follow your tweets and see what kind of things you're putting out there. So it's pretty cool in that respect. Twitter's becoming a little bit more mainstream now, so it's a little bit less confusing to a lot of people, but some people still kind of shy away from Twitter because they don't really understand what the value is and talking about how horrible your dog's farts smell at any given point in time. But the truth of the matter is there's millions of conversations happening on Twitter at any given time, and you have the opportunity to be a part of those conversations. Some people even use Twitter as their main source of getting just news and information throughout the day. A lot of times you can hear important news on Twitter before it ever breaks on TV or on your local news. So anyway, in a nutshell, that's what Twitter is. If you don't have an account, sign up for one. If you have an account and you haven't used it for a while, open it up, refresh it, and just kind of take these tips into consideration. And if you're currently using it, just kind of listen to what I have to say, and hopefully something that I say here in the next few minutes is going to help you to use Twitter a little bit better. So getting right into it, my first tip, whether you already have an existing account or you're just signing up for a new one, is to complete your Twitter profile. Number one, that includes your profile image. Now, there's been some discussion. Some people will say that, you should always use a face for your Twitter profile, and that's, whether you're a brand or just an individual. If you're a brand, unless there's a notable face behind your brand, I would normally say just go ahead and use your logo. I mean, because that's what you would want people to associate with your brand, is your logo. So if you're a brand, just go ahead and use your logo. If you are an individual, my personal recommendation is that you use actually a picture of yourself, because no one wants to be interacting with your pet dog on Twitter. The next part of your profile that you want to make sure you fill out is your biography. Now, the biography, you're actually given 160 characters of space, as opposed to in a tweet where you're only given 140. Still not a lot of space, but you at least get a little bit of extra room to kind of talk about what it is that makes you cool and interesting. Maybe throw out a fun fact or two. Just make it sound appealing, and give people a reason to follow you and want to interact with you. For example, in my profile, yes, I mentioned that I make things on the interweb, and I'm a blogger and YouTuber and all that kind of thing, but I also mentioned that I'm a Rubik's Cube unraveler. I enjoy unraveling Rubik's Cubes. If somebody's looking at my account and they find that interesting, maybe they'd be more inclined to engage with me just on the simple fact that I can unscramble a Rubik's Cube. The next thing that you want to consider within your profile is the header image. And the header image is basically just what shows up, the image that shows up behind your profile picture and your biography on Twitter. Now, personally, if you're an individual, I don't necessarily place a huge emphasis on this. I personally don't spend a whole lot of time on people's actual Twitter accounts and looking at whatever their header image is. For example, on mine, all I have is a picture that I took by my parents' house earlier this year just because I thought it was cool. If you want to make it something creative, you can kind of create header images that sort of mesh with your profile picture so that your profile picture actually becomes part of the header image. or just make it something that that says something about you. If you're a brand, you may want to use a header image that kind of highlights maybe some of your products, or just highlights what it is about you that makes you who you are. A couple things to remember about header images. The ratio for the header images is 2:1. So you could use like an image like 600 by 300 pixels. Just one thing to consider is that you want to make sure that whatever image you use, it doesn't clash too much with your biography and with your profile image. If you have a really busy image as your header image, it might be a little bit hard to read your bio, so just keep that in mind. The last thing that you can fill out in your profile is the location. Honestly, I can't really think of a super important reason for why you should put something super specific there. I specify my specific location in my Twitter account. However, on yours, if you want to say that you live in the International Space Station, by all means, go right ahead. So moving on from the Twitter profile, now I'd like to actually talk about some tips and tricks that you can take into consideration when you're actually using Twitter and posting content and interacting. The first thing, and this is my biggest pet peeve with Twitter, and I know that Twitter is supposed to be real time and it's supposed to be quick and impulsive, but my first recommendation is to post with context. Now, you teenagers out there are guilty of this, and it just drives me insane. The little tweets like, ugh, my stomach hurts, I hate school, my cat's so crazy. Nobody wants to interact with those kinds of tweets. I mean, I guess if you're just on Twitter just to vent, and that's what you're there for, and you don't care if anybody interacts with you, then fine. By all means, keep spewing that textual vomit. But in the case of someone who wants to actually build some kind of a personal brand, put some context behind your tweets and give them some meaning. Focus on posting content that is interesting to you, because oftentimes if people follow you, it's because they are interested in what you're interested in. So if you find an interesting article or photo or video online, post it and put a little caption along with it that says what the video is and why people should watch it. That's gonna encourage people to engage with you more. Next thing I want to talk about is hashtags. Now, hashtags, they're not quite as confusing as they used to be because they're a little bit more mainstream now. But a hashtag is just basically the # followed by some text. It's some text without any spaces or punctuation in it. Hashtags actually started as a user hack. So it started on Twitter. Basically, Twitter doesn't offer comment threading like Facebook does. If you post on Facebook, you're given the ability to comment beneath that post and create a thread of comments. On Twitter, you don't have that. So hashtags were created as a way to sort of thread conversations around a particular topic. For example, the Super Bowl is coming up, so let's say you posted a tweet about the Super Bowl and you used hashtag Super Bowl 2014. By doing that, someone could use Twitter's search feature at search.twitter.com. They could search for the hashtag Super Bowl 2014, and they could see your tweet, and then they could see every other tweet that included that particular hashtag, so you can kind of see what the conversation is like around that particular topic. And you could use a hashtag for whatever you want, but a couple tips when it comes to hashtags is, number one, don't overuse them, because filling your tweet stream up with just a bunch of hashtags looks super spammy, so don't do that. And number two, make them relevant, and just make them contextual and base them around a particular topic so that they're more effective. People are going to be searching for hashtags that are based more around a specific topic, so try to use hashtags that are geared towards whatever topic it is that you happen to be tweeting about. My next recommendation is to keep your tweets short. But Ryan, I only have 140 characters to tweet in the first place. Yes, I agree. 140 characters is a small amount of room to compose a thought. But here's the reason why you should keep your tweets under 140 characters, and actually, in fact, 120 characters or less in most cases. There are things on Twitter called retweets. There are basically two types of retweets. There are native retweets and then retweets that include comments. Native retweets, basically, when you click the retweet button, what a native retweet is it republishes someone's tweet into your Twitter stream as if it came from them. So it'll show their tweet as if they composed it themselves with their username and their profile picture. It'll appear in your Twitter stream, but it'll be their content. This differs from a retweet with a comment in that retweets with comments give you the ability to also republish someone else's tweet onto your Twitter feed, but it also gives you the opportunity to put a little caption or comment before or after it. Now, in order to be able to retweet somebody's tweet and include a comment, those tweets have to be short, because by default, when you click that reply button, the format of the tweet is going to be as follows. It's going to say RT, which is short for retweet, then it's going to have the person's username, and then it's going to have the rest of the tweet. So you have to take into consideration the extra characters you're using up by adding in the RT and the username. So if you're tweeting close to 140 characters, someone's not going to be able to retweet your tweet and include a comment because you've already taken up the max amount of characters that are allowed within a tweet. So like I said, the best thing to do is to keep your tweets at about 120 characters or less, possibly even shorter depending on what kind of engagement you're looking for with your tweets. If you're asking some kind of question and you want people to retweet and include their answer within their comment, then you'll probably want to keep it as short as humanly possible to give whoever's engaging with you more room to leave their comment. All right, my next tip has to do with starting your tweets with another Twitter user's username. When someone puts out a tweet and you reply, you click the Twitter button that says reply, by default, that person's username is going to be at the beginning of this new tweet that you're about to send out as the response to them. Twitter views these types of tweets that start with usernames as almost kind of like exclusive conversations between the original poster and you, the person responding. As a result, let's say Bill Nye the Science Guy posts something and I respond to his tweet. My response to him, assuming that I leave it in the default format with his username first and my comment afterwards, my tweet is only going to be seen in the main Twitter stream by people who follow me and who also follow Bill Nye the Science Guy. And the only way that people are going to see the tweet that I sent out who aren't following both of us at the same time is if they go directly to my Twitter profile and look at my direct Twitter stream. So then what do you do if you want to either reply to someone or compose a tweet that begins with a username, but you want everyone, all of your followers basically, to be able to see this tweet? What do you do? The easiest thing to do a lot of the time is just put some kind of character, some inconspicuous character, before the username at the beginning of the tweet. So just a little period or something like that. The other thing to do is move the Twitter handle somewhere within the text of the tweet, or maybe even at the end of the tweet at in some way, so that it goes directly into everyone's news feed or into their Twitter feed that follows you. The last tip I have for you with regards to making Twitter work for you is honestly to just engage. Don't use Twitter as a monologue. Use it as a multi-log. You know, don't just be throwing out content. You want to be absorbing content. You want to be engaging with content. You want to be joining conversations that other people start. You want to be using search.twitter.com to see what people are saying about topics that you're knowledgeable about and joining conversations and helping people out there. At the end of the day, that's what social media, not just Twitter, is all about, is being social and interacting with one another. So use it to your advantage, because it really is a powerful tool if you know how to use it right. It can be time consuming, but at the end of the day, really it's worth it. Oh, and don't buy Twitter followers. It's pointless. There's no reason to do it. They're fake. It doesn't work. Just don't do it. Well, anyway, that's all I got for you in this episode. I hope that was informative, and I hope that's going to help you out as you navigate the Twitter sphere. And until next time, do me a favor and get off your lazy ass and go do something awesome. And if you do, tell me about it, because I want to hear about it. Until next time, I'm out.